Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka Podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a sporty episode of Baka. We are a anime podcast that every 2 weeks watches an anime and then comes together in this podcast like we're a book club to talk about what we watched, with the intent of turning the discussion over to our audience so they can take it further and beyond and plus ultra. We watched our very first sports anime, and we also have a special guest with us to help us discuss it. But before we get to all that, let me introduce my co-host. My name is Troy, and first off, we have the jump to my shot, Jeremy. What's up?
Hey.
How you doing?
Pretty good. I actually I got to go a place that I never really thought I'd get to go this last week. Reaper's Miniatures actually has its headquarters right here, 15 minutes away from my house. I had no idea. I've purchased from them in the past, and I always thought that they were more distributed than that, more places, but they have one place.
You bought miniatures paint. Did you paint anything? Because last time you said you had miniatures. Now you're telling us you have paint. We want to see the artwork.
Yeah, okay. All right. Hang on. So, it's crap. This is the first time I've painted in like a couple of decades.
Okay, for audio listeners, it's mostly black.
It's an atlas. Hey!
I can't see it.
It's got a big red arm. You see the red arm? Here, maybe
the camera has a nice red arm. Okay, I'm gonna move on. We also have the technical to my foul. Jason, how you doing?
That's a foul.
Technical foul.
Technical. No, doing pretty good. Soccer just started for my kids. So,
sports!
What's really funny is, I have to put this out here for all of our listeners. I don't really like watching sports. Never have. But I've kind of gotten a love for football lately, or within the past couple of years. But that's only because Seahawks were annihilating the Broncos.
So your team spirit got you going? Is that all it was?
Let's call it that.
Okay.
So anyways, yeah, that's been sitting out in the rain during spring soccer is fantastic.
Been there. Also, 12th Man sucks.
Oh!
So, like I said, we have a special guest. He is literally my best friend. His grandfather taught me how to play basketball. He was a co-coach with me for my daughter's basketball team. We grew up together, and he doesn't really watch anime. So he does watch a lot of sports, and then he'll tell me about sports, and I'll tell him about anime, and we both think the other one's stupid. So I wanted to bring him on the show for a very different viewpoint than we normally get, because we watched a basketball anime. We watched Kuroko's basketball. Even though I hear Hayaku is better, I wanted to do basketball. It was thematic with the March Madness, even though it's not March anymore. His name is Mark. Mark, how are you doing?
Oh, I didn't get a cool.
Oh, you want a name?
Yeah, I have one. Can I do it?
Sure.
The McDaniels to my Broncos. Troy, how's it going?
Rude.
Nicely done.
Really rude. I couldn't even get a Tebow. So I need you to tell the audience your experience with anime, what you have seen in your life.
So what I have seen in my life, in high school, I watched Dragon Ball Z.
Right. And you watched some of My Hero Academia when we first started this podcast?
Yeah, when you guys first did the first round of My Hero Academia, I watched the whole thing, followed along. Nice. And then I do listen to the show, mostly when I'm mowing the lawn, but I don't watch most of the show. I don't even feel like the way you guys go through it, I don't even feel like I need to watch the show. So,
oh, thank you.
I mean, not for other audience members. You guys should watch the show.
So I do have one question, one follow-up for you. What do you think of our Ghost Stories episodes?
Ghost Stories?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen or heard those.
He's very much behind on our minisodes.
Well, it's been winter, so I haven't been mowing.
That's true.
Fair enough.
So our Ghost Stories episodes, for those who don't know, have been very popular, especially on YouTube, because we just sit around. We turn into a React YouTube channel. My daughter actually made fun of me. Dad, you're a React YouTube channel. Way to go. And we watch a really bad anime and we just laugh at it. And then people apparently love seeing that. And hopefully some of them came over to this episode and we're going to hit them with our best work ever. That's why I brought the headband.
It's something, I'll tell you that.
Okay, so we should start off with, like I said, we watched Kuroko's basketball, and we need to do our non-spoiler reviews. Jason, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Sure. I didn't like it, and the issue that I came into it, so I got to lay this out on the table for our listeners. Because I'm not a big sports fan, I had a bias against this already. So I had Troy dug this into me. I have to come at this from a different angle. So, I didn't like it for a couple different reasons. I could not connect with the characters. I could not connect for why this was important to them. So I didn't feel there were any stakes worth having an emotional connection to. And plus that, the storyline itself was bland for me. So that's me.
Okay, Jeremy, how about you?
So I kind of am in the same boat as Jason. Not really fond of watching sports at all. Probably not surprising. But I think the biggest thing for me with this anime was that the main character's power was really frustrating for me to try and make sense of. I mean, we'll get into it when we get in the show, but that was a big issue for me. In addition, I probably enjoyed the sports side without the powers more than anything else that they did. So it kind of was almost frustrating that they tried to make it so tropey of a shonen. So yeah, I can't recommend it.
Okay, so Mark, what are your thoughts? Again, as a non-anime watcher, then you had to sit through 13 episodes of this.
It's funny. It's almost the negative of what Jeremy said. I really liked the main character's power. I understand that. I understand not the power part, but I understand what was going on and what he was doing in basketball, and so that made sense to me. And I thought it was cool that they had the main guy his power was not being able to dunk or score points. He never scored a single point, but it's looking at the supporting characters and making them the main character. Thought that was cool. The rest of the basketball didn't really make sense, and them standing around talking a lot during basketball didn't make sense. So, but
there were so many conversations in the middle of a game.
Yes.
You tell me that's not normal.
Okay.
Yeah, but no. Overall, I thought it was interesting. At least I don't know. I don't think I'd keep watching it, but because I don't know where they'd go from here.
Right. For me, I enjoyed the basketball games. The story really fell flat for me, and I feel like there's some things they can do to really easily fix this. And I kept watching this thinking about other shonen anime, because I feel like sports anime, from what I've seen, which is very limited, basically this and Kaijo, I feel like they're cousins, right? They're cousins of the same genre. I'm Goku, I fight, and I'm big basketball player, I basketball. And I felt like there were some very obvious things that they could do to fix this, to make the characters more interesting, and then I would have been much more into it. As it was, there was really only one character I cared about, and even that wasn't a ton. But I at least found the basketball games interesting, and I liked the powers just for the flavoring, and it felt anime, and I was here to watch an anime. So that's me. And then, yeah, like Mark said, let's talk about the opening and closing credits. And what did you guys think of those? Mark, why don't you start us off?
Okay, I'd love to. Why is it so long? I don't understand.
Oh, no, that's normal. So
Yeah.
This is anime.
Yep.
the opening and closings are very much a part of anime. They're almost as much a part of the DNA as anything else. Very similar to the theme song of Cheers. You don't watch Cheers without the theme song playing.
You don't watch Seinfeld with a theme song, though.
But that was their thing. We're the sitcom without a theme song because that was their thing.
The episode's 24 minutes long, and 4 of it is the in and out.
I mean, that's honestly why we have a section of our show just to talk about them because they're so big.
And then why was there a dog? I don't understand the dog in the intro.
Oh, they do. I think they'll get a dog later.
Oh, okay.
I think that's for future. Cause
I told you this was going to turn into Bud.
but I don't think the dog plays. I don't even
That
know
was funny.
So for you, don't bother with having such long intros and outros.
Yeah, well, I don't understand. Why are they out like by the train tracks? I don't understand any of it.
Symbolism, man.
Okay, yeah.
You're on a journey.
Jeremy, how about you?
I don't even remember it.
Wow.
I tried to get the anime out of the way as quickly as possible, and I don't remember the intro.
It's good to hear you went in with an open mind. Jason, how about you?
The intro's fine. It was not memorable. It felt longer than the other intros because of the narration at the beginning.
Yeah,
that killed me.
There is a narration at the beginning that is totally unimportant after you watch it the first time. Like it's in the first episode.
Yeah, that narration in the intro is not normal.
At least that's the part I understood because they were.
And then the outro was I didn't like it.
Yeah. I agree on the outro. It was skippable for me. I don't think I watched it more than once or twice.
You skipped it. They always give you a preview of the next episode.
Oh, I never see the previews.
Yeah, you have to. We have to watch it anyway, so we just.
Yeah.
I like to know what's coming.
I actually really like the intro though, and actually it might have been one of my favorite parts of the whole anime because it was animated better than the rest of the anime. The basketball motions were way more detailed, and I really liked watching. I enjoyed watching them play basketball in the intro more than I enjoyed watching them. Mark mentioned in our pre-show how a lot of the anime is just frozen picture of a guy flying through the air. At least in the intro, they're moving and there's motion, and I enjoyed the song, and yeah, I really like the intro. I don't think it's going to go into my like regular playlist, but it was kind of the highlight for me. Okay, we're ready for spoiler warnings, guys. If you have not watched this anime,
don't.
Yeah, don't bother.
If you have watched it, you're probably one of those people who like sports anime and are probably ready to kick our teeth in. I did say in our last episode we would need someone to help us defend this because I don't know if I quite understand sports anime yet, and I kind of want someone to explain it. But so just everyone knows we're going to the spoiler section, talk about characters, plot details, themes, theories. Does anyone have any theories? Probably not going to have many theories. So let's go ahead and start with that. To repeat a certain narrator at the beginning of every single episode, once upon a time, there was a middle school basketball team, middle school club, because they don't have teams, they have clubs. And it had over 100 members in it, but there were 5 really good players, and they were called the Generation of Miracles, these 5 players. And then there was rumor of a phantom 6th man that no one knew about because no one kept track of his record.
No one knew he existed.
And as my daughter put it, to quote Avatar: Last Airbender, and when he disappeared when the world needed him most. So that's our setting. Now all these players are going on to high school and they have separated onto different teams, and we are following this Phantom 6 man who is Kuroko. He is I don't know how he's impossible to miss, his whole thing is you can't see him. He has no presence, so he gets away. But he has also bright, light blue hair. Really stands out in the crowd, but, anime.
Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong. It's pronounced Kuroko?
Yeah, Kuroko.
Doesn't matter?
Go on, Trey.
I'm not saying it with the
duly correct
flair.
You say it right,
You just said it wrong.
I got confused.
So can I?
We don't know who you're
if I
talking
say
about.
Kuroko,
Who's that?
Kuroko.
Like turn it into almost a D, like a Kuroko.
But it's a U and then
Kuroko.
2 O's. So U-O-O.
This is important, Troy.
It is important.
Troy's mind is blown right now.
So, Kuroko, what did you guys think of this character?
Just as you described him, forgettable.
Hey, that plays right into his ability.
Right? No, I thought it was cool to have an anime hero as a support character, because I haven't seen that done before. So I thought that was a neat angle to take it to try and make it interesting. Also, it created a lot of humor, which was nice, because people would just be looking at him, they would blink, and he's gone, or they just come out of nowhere. So
I liked whenever they sat down at his table, like he's not there. He's like, I'm sitting here.
Right.
So did it seem to you guys like it was intentional, or that he just didn't have presence and it was sort of a passive effect that people didn't notice him because they didn't notice him?
Both.
So to what degree? To what degree do you guys think it was deliberate versus just innate ability of his?
I thought that was just who he was, is this guy with no presence, and then that straight translated into his power on the basketball court. That's what I thought it was.
See,
I took it.
I thought there were times he was using it, like he'd sneak up on a character and just suddenly be standing behind them, and he knew, look, no one notices me, he's not going to notice me, and it wasn't so much like I'm going to sneak up on him, but just kind of, no matter what I do, I'm going to sneak up on him.
Mm-hmm. So the reason I ask is because, like, I thought the same thing that Mark did initially, and there was a point where the character that we find out later has eagle eye, and he can see all kinds of stuff because he has like enhanced spatial awareness. He describes Kuroko's ability as, he throws the basketball over his shoulder, and his friend sees the basketball go over his shoulder. He turns and looks at that. And so then he says, see, I distracted you. I used sleight of hand. I misdirected you. That's what Kuroko's doing, as if it was something that he was deliberately doing all the time. And I got confused by that, because I was thinking, if this is a passive thing, then I can kind of deal with that. That's an interesting idea. But if this is a deliberate thing, then it's just a big joke to me, because it's too consistent. It's always there. It's always happening.
I think it's two separate things, actually. I think
they called that out. The coach Ada called that out.
Yeah. So he has a very low presence that he just is innate. And I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or if it's just his personality. The misdirection, I feel, was described like he's a magician. Like what a sleight of hand artist would do.
Right. He because of his low presence, because he wanted to play basketball, he also became very observational and learn how to do sleight of hand and misdirection and push people's focus away. Because at one point she's like, man, his presence is so low, he's getting past them. And she's like, no, wait, that's not actually what it is. It's just a combination of the fact he has low presence and the fact he also knows how to do misdirection, and he can make them, which enhances the low presence.
I must have missed that part. I'll admit, for the first half of this, I was actually getting rid of the mold lines on those miniatures, so I wasn't reading the subtitles for all of it.
Good call.
You're the worst.
Yeah.
Mark, what do you think of him?
Well, he was my favorite character on the show, just because of what Jason said. He's not a main character, and it's kind of nice to see a non-main character be the star. And then in terms of just straight in basketball, like you see the guy who goes and makes all the points, Kobe Bryant or whoever, but there's a lot of other guys on the court that make that happen for him. It's not just one player. And so it was kind of cool to see that highlighted.
I agree with Mark and Jason on that stuff. The only thing I also really liked that one, because he was my favorite character too, was his ideal was something that I really liked. As far as watching basketball, NBA, I'm usually kind of, that's not really for me, because it's so focused on superstars and watch the big guys dunk, or watch a guy shoot threes all day. But I like watching college basketball because it's about the teamwork. They don't have the superstars to win for them, so they have to work together. And so that's like a personal preference of mine. And so that the fact that there's this character who comes along and says, this is the way it should be, That is something I could at least care about and I get attached to. And that was kind of the only thing I had to hook onto and carry me through this anime. So I really liked that ideal that he had. Okay, so the next character we meet, because there's this school called Siren?
Yeah, you got me there. I don't know how to pronounce that one.
I'm pretty sure it's Siren.
All right. They're trying to get their basketball club, and they've had kind of a pathetic basketball club. Last year, they only had freshmen. Now they have a bunch of second years, and they're recruiting for more new freshmen. And, Kuroko also signs up, but the character we see sign up is Kagami, who is this giant man, giant ape man, who used to live in America. So he's used to playing American style basketball versus American sized basketball players, where in Japan, the players tend to be a little bit smaller, and it's also not as much a sport there as it is in America. So he's like, I'm going to play against pathetic players, and I guess that's just my life, but I just love playing basketball and I want to play basketball. So let's go through. Mark, what did you think of this character?
I don't know. He was interesting. I guess they had to have a good player on their team in order to even be competitive. And it was funny that he was from America or spent time in America, and he's like, well, then it's like, well, you got all your talent because you're in America now, so now you're just going to come back and clean up. But I don't understand why he wasn't recruited to another bigger school if he was good, or maybe he just flew under the radar. But
me and Jeremy and Jason were having discussions kind of about this anime, and we kept we don't really understand how Japanese league works, because they don't have a season, they don't have the teams that they play against regularly. They basically make a club and then sign up for tournaments, and that's what they get to do.
Yeah, they had one practice game and then the full-on tournament.
Right.
Yeah.
And that might be that's probably completely normal to Japan, but to Americans and knowing about high school basketball, college basketball, and how they go through leagues and stuff, that it's a little off-putting.
Yeah, you have 35 regular season games in NCAA.
Well, and one thing you got to realize also in Japan is middle school is high school here. So that means their high school is our college here. So basically, we were watching an anime about college.
Okay. Did not know that.
Even so, I could not get attached to the characters in time for the tournament to start with such a short introduction to them. I mean, I would have liked to see some more practice games. I would have liked to see that. Even so, though, what is it, Kagami? He was the tropiest of tropey shonen characters that I've seen. It's so boring.
I think at one point I said he's Goku without the naive charm.
Yeah. He was kind of the one that is almost an anti-hero, essentially, where he's heading down the same path as the villains, but maybe he can be swayed by the protagonist. Big Red and Little Blue is what I wound up calling them. And it just, I don't know.
Appropriate.
So simple. Yeah.
I didn't care about this character. He was very anti-hero, tropey trope, but he was irritating. I didn't like this character.
Yeah.
He was seriously irritating to watch. Every time he came on screen, I was just like, can we have someone else, please?
I want to. He does have the best line in the entire anime, though. It's a Japanese lunch rush.
Oh God, I did love that. You're right. You got that.
and then the other character saying "Stop being so American." And could you imagine a show where they'd be like, "Would you quit acting so Japanese?" That would probably not land well.
Probably not.
For me,
I enjoyed it.
I actually did not like this character either. For reasons Jeremy said, he was really cliche, and he's actually a really important character to like, and it's one of the biggest flaws of this anime is that there's just this I want to fight anime trope character, but there's nothing for us to like about him on the other side. Goku's very much the same, but he's also a big dumb idiot who's like a child, and so we love him anyway.
We've also known Goku since he was a little baby,
right?
So I think
we've seen him.
Yeah, attachment there.
He warms up to the little blue guy at some point, right? Maybe that's part of.
It feels more like he's using Kuroko as a means to an end.
It starts that way, but I do think that by the point where they exchange punches, they've certainly grown closer.
I would agree with that.
I was going to say the only thing that I did like about him, the one thing I found interesting, and it's really for Kuroko because he is the proof in Kuroko's pudding for his ideal. He's like, look, this guy could become just like the Generation Miracles, who their entire ideal is it's all about one player and how talented they can be, and that's what wins games. And Kagami totally could go that way, but he's going to be the proof that proves Kuroko right.
I thought that was really funny because essentially what Kuroko is doing is being the shepherd dog that is making sure he guides this really powerful creature into the position he wants to prove his point. So really Kagami is not necessarily so much a friend as just a tool to prove this point as well.
Right.
So
they're using each other, is what you're saying.
yes.
So the club meets and we learn about Kuroko's, the fact that he has no presence, and because they call for him, they can't find him. We also meet the team's coach, who is Ada, who is a high school girl herself.
Okay, I got a problem with that.
Yeah, I know.
Not because she's a girl, but because she's a fellow student, and every other coach we see is an adult man.
But they call that out. They're like, wait, shouldn't you be the team manager and that old guy over there be the coach? And she's like, nope.
Yeah, I know, but calling something out doesn't justify it. It just says, hey, this is something that shouldn't be this way based on the information we've given you. We're calling it out. It shouldn't be this way. Let's move on.
Wasn't it like they just started their team and they didn't even have a coach last year, and so maybe she was just by default like
she was their coach last year too.
Yeah, she was the coach last year.
But you're right. They just started last year and they had no one else, and she took the coach role because of her father is a
fitness. Yeah. Which I think that's actually a really great idea for her as a character to have this interesting ability where she's able to tell just by looking what their fitness is, what they need to work on, things like that. That's cool, but it doesn't go into the realm of strategy, tactics, any appreciation for basketball.
Well, that's actually something I wanted to ask Mark. With her ability is she can look at a person and know their natural ability, but she doesn't really do anything like tactically or coming up with plans and stuff. So I was going to ask Mark, for a coach, would that really work? Or would she be better as more like an assistant coach to someone who actually game plans?
Well, the first thing that I thought that was a cool ability, but what I don't understand is like what does 3 frogs mean?
They jump really well.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that. Okay, I didn't catch that. But yeah, no, you're right, Trey. That's a good point. There's one thing to analyze a player; it's another thing to put that into practice or understand what you need to do to balance that out or make that successful. But you could do both. Maybe she can grow into that role, but it kind of seems like she was just thrust into the head coaching role.
Yeah. I kept waiting for her to do something in the game and be like, wait, guys, I've realized something. Here's my plan. But the players kept like, I got a plan, guys. I'm like, well, shouldn't the coach do that?
And if I was her, I would have been using that skill the whole time on the other team and like figure out what they're doing, what they're about.
Yeah. I do. For it's not that I did dislike the character. I just feel like she's a major missed opportunity, I think is the best way for me to describe it.
Yeah, if they had spent some time and actually justified her position a little bit better, or, I mean, I guess my theory is that really aren't any other girls in this anime at all, and yet it's not like one of the ones that's all guys and they have their guy relationships get really intimate and everything, right? I don't know what they're called, but it's not one of those. Right? So there does have to... Well, it's not really a harem because a harem revolves around a girl or around someone of the opposite sex, right? But they needed to have a female character in here. They knew it. We know it. But they didn't have a place for her that they thought would be good in the script, so they pop her in here. Now, there is another female character that kind of comes in at the end of where we stopped watching, and maybe she comes in and starts filling in that role of, romantic interest, issues, problems. That could be interesting. I think that this character is here just to provide that female role so that they can have the cute interactions that anime are so known for throughout the first half of the season.
I think there's a similar character in Free who's basically just a viewpoint of the audience so that someone can explain about the boys swimming, and she doesn't really do anything else except for explain the story.
Yeah, like Yuri on Ice and I think Free as well. Those are the kinds of animes I'm describing, right? They don't need a girl because
Free is not free. Okay, so
Free's not okay.
Free is a lot of eye candy for female viewers.
Okay,
but no, Yuri on Ice and Free are not the same.
Okay,
Jason, your thoughts on the coach?
I don't know anything.
Good thoughts.
Yeah, no, literally, I don't know anything about it. I used to be a physical therapist. She's so forgettable, and she had some decent comedic moments, but she was not pivotal to the story in the slightest. So.
Okay, but I do ship her with Hyuga.
Okay.
The glasses.
The captain.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
You could probably ship her with anybody.
What does that mean?
Ship means to put them in a relationship in your mind.
Troy does this a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Apparently no one else does. I'm weird.
No, yeah.
I live in a house of teenage girls. Okay?
Yeah, there you go. That explains it.
We'll talk some more about the other teammates on the team later, but we do meet some of them. But really, a lot of the other characters don't stand out enough. And that was one of my big sticking points of this anime. Like, you need to make every member of this team. You need to make me care about them. And this is like one of the first things I compared My Hero Academia to this. Is like, think of that entire 1A classroom. I know every character and I care about every character, even through just a few episodes, because like, oh, there's the electric guy and he's got electric hair and he's dumb and okay, I got it. I know him and I got him. These guys were all very switchable, especially in the first half. I didn't, until they really focused in the game. But personality wise,
I have one call out actually, and it made me instantly hate this anime.
Oh, it's the eyeball guy.
No,
Catmouth.
Catmouth.
Yeah. He's got the big, always white eyes.
Why? Why did they draw a dude with a catmouth? Like, how was that endearing to the audience? What did that do to the anime?
I got the sense that he was like the troublemaker, the one that was always like laughing in the background. From the expression, I'm saying, not from his actions, but like that's what they were trying to get across, was that this guy has. But I think, in all honesty, though, you look at these characters and they are kind of cardboard cutouts. So all they have is the surface that is drawn on, essentially.
But don't they have to be? You have like your main characters, Troy, like you're saying. There's on My Hero Academia. There's like the lightning guy. Well, in this anime, there's the main guys with their powers, and then there's a bunch of supporting guys that don't matter. Like, they're never going to matter because they don't matter.
I think you can do it. I think there's other sports animes that do it. Kaijo was one. They had big boobs and big butts, but there was more. I cared about the characters. They all had like, they gave them all quirks and twists.
Yeah.
Okay. Look.
I will say that it gave me an appreciation for why anime has such a habit of giving interesting colored hair to all the different characters, because I was having a really hard time distinguishing, not just on this team, but also when I would encounter other teams. I'm like, okay, is this crap jersey color? I don't know who I'm looking at here. I don't know why that guy's upset when he looks over at the hoop and the other guy isn't.
Well, I'm sure that's why they gave Kuroko's rival the bald head, right? So he was super distinguishable.
But how many people are on the basketball court at the same time?
Right, exactly. By default, there's going to be 10 people at any,
And 3 of them are recognizable.
Yeah.
I did like that the Generation of Miracles all have their own, all color coded.
Yeah, exactly.
There's the pink guy.
I kind of thought of that as Mega Man.
You got to steal their powers. That would actually be a more fun anime.
Well, there is a guy. Okay, we're gonna get to that guy in a second. There is a guy that does that. So basically the first episode is the characters meeting each other. Kuroko and Kagame play basketball against each other. Kagame crushes him, and he's like, "Wait, why would you even challenge me? You're obviously awful." And that's like we point out, Kuroko is awful. They say he's below average for actual playing basketball.
Boy, he can hit that ball hard for being so below average.
And actually, there's a couple scenes where he dribbles and does like a dribble move, and I'm like, man, I really suck.
The coordination is insane that this character has.
But his physical attributes are below average.
Yeah, he's.
I would think of coordination as a physical attribute.
So we could redefine his ability as he can really do really amazing things with balls.
Just maybe like it is here. Yeah.
Ooh.
But then we come to a scene where the second years and the first years play against each other, and we see Kagami can dunk and how good he is. But then Kuroko, when they start losing because all the rest of the team is crap, Kuroko comes in and actually like makes the difference, and we see his ability for the first time, the misdirection, to be able to. They can throw the ball to like a spot no one's at, and then suddenly he's there and he's redirecting the ball because you didn't realize he was there the whole time. And then by the way he passes the ball, you lose sight of him again. And the freshmen managed to beat the second years, which is probably not a good sign for your basketball team.
I definitely will concede that his ability looks cool, and the way that they present it and play it off. At how he's able to appear, disappear, reappear wherever he needs to be and have perfect accuracy with his passes. It plays off really, really well. It looks cool to me. I definitely will concede that. But I wonder if it would have been more believable if his ability had something to do with speed and dexterity rather than invisibility. Even though I know that they're playing on the idea of these characters are never noticed, they're in the background, or rather these players on a team are generally not noticed because they're support players. But it just kind of felt like it clashed to me. But it really looked cool.
I think beyond his speed too, though, it wasn't just the speed; it was his anticipation. He knew he could see the court. Before the guy who could see the whole court came on, I was like, "Well, he's got the best court vision in the whole anime." But I think that
full court vision.
It makes him seem like he's faster because he's already seeing things before they're happening and making that happen. Yeah,
that's a good point. Maybe precog. That would be good.
Well, I saw it as a character who loves basketball and realized he sucks at basketball and figured out, okay, what am I good at that I can put into basketball and excel at? I'm observant. I'm, not noticeable. How can I combine these two things? And then came across the misdirection and like, oh, if I work on that, basically just took whatever natural talents he had, heightened them rather than actually getting good at basketball because he just figured I'm stuck where I am. So how can I excel in this sport? And he talks about how much he loves basketball. So that was my take, especially in this first episode, because he talks about I love basketball right after he shows how much he sucks at it. That was his journey to this point was okay, I want to do this sport, I can't do this sport. How can I take what I am and make it good at this sport?
And then he can be the shadow to his light.
Oh God, I hated that line. I hated that line.
It's a little cliche.
I was like, I get what you're saying. It's an interesting idea, but the way you phrased it just doesn't sound right. It's
kind of like how he's getting stronger.
Yes, thank you. Oh.
Sorry, Charlie. I didn't.
It's too early. We don't bring that up when we get to it. After that scrimmage. There's a scene where they find out that they're not officially part of the club and they have to go through this initiation of screaming on the roof, which gets them all in trouble apparently. But basically they had to set a goal to complete, or their punishment is to go back to that spot naked and confess their true love.
This is what their female classmate coach is making them do.
Yes, that's true. Kuroko doesn't get to, but eventually he writes it out in the yard. And this episode kind of goes into his ideal. And then the team finds out that they are going to be playing a practice game against Team Kaijo. And that this team has one of the Generation of Miracle players on it.
Hey Trey, you skipped that the big guy's goal was to be the best player in Japan.
Yeah, he wants to.
Yeah.
And when he finds out about the Generation of Miracles, he's like, okay, now I have a thing. I'm going to beat every single one of them. So then they find out, hey, we're going to play against one of the Generation of Miracles. And he's like, oh, I'm fired up. And then that guy walks out into the court. He's like, I'm already here. and this is Kize, the model superstar, who is also an all-arounder. And
so he's also the worst, right above.
He's
of all of them, yeah.
He's considered the worst because he doesn't excel at any one thing, but he has the ability to copy anything he sees, which to me makes it sound like he would be the best.
Except for abilities.
Oh, did they say he can't copy the?
Yep, that's why he couldn't copy them. Yep.
Okay,
which makes sense. Not
right. Let's put an arbitrary limitation. Well, it's all arbitrary, so it fits. It really does.
What'd you guys think of this character? Because he plays a major part. He kind of becomes of a story explainer.
Kisei grew on me over time. Initially, I kind of found him irritating. It was kind of silly to me how when he lost, he was crying because it was the first time he lost and everything. And I'm like, okay, all right, wow.
For it. Like, at least he got what was coming from doing that.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed how they brought him back as sort of a commentator on everything that was going on. And it became no longer, I mean, it is still about him a little bit because he does intend to face them at some point again when it's not a practice match. So he wants to see them succeed. But at the same time, he's looking and measuring the difficulty that they're coming up against legitimately with experienced eyes. And it's nice to hear. It was kind of cool to hear his perspective.
Okay. Jason?
Again, just another forgettable character. I think the thing I really liked about this character was I liked that he had this desire to not only make up with Kuroko because he really wanted that friendship with him, but he wanted him to come to his school, and not purely to play basketball, but just because he liked the guy. And I think that was more endearing than just about everything else in the anime, was this idea that there was this personal relationship that he wanted more of with this character. And it showed throughout the rest of the anime because he kept following around and basically rooting for him because, he was his friend.
It seemed almost a little bit obsessive to me, like a little bit obsessive. But yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from.
But it wasn't overboard.
No.
Besides that, and besides the couple episodes that he's playing against Siren in, I forgot he was in the anime.
Yeah, how about you, Mark?
Well, just in terms of like a player like that with that kind of natural talent, there's guys out there that can watch another player do something and then mimic it or even do it better than that pretty quickly. So that's fairly believable, especially like the little spin move he did on the red-haired guy.
Kagami.
Yeah. But then after that, yeah, like when he's narrating in the stands, that's fine. I tend to think that he's going to either go to Siren or somehow team up with those guys or get lost. Because now the green guy's the next guy, and I don't know what's going to happen after that. Do they just drop off one at a time as they play them, or what happens after that? Because is there going to be 5 guys in the stands at some point watching them play?
You know what? When to be fully honest, I have actually gone like to the last season. This is like 4 seasons in a movie or something like that, or an OVA. I went to like the 4th season and just saw where it goes. And these enemy teams start playing against each other too. And we start getting to see the Generation of Miracles play against each other. I thought this anime was going to let's recollect the Generation of Miracles and rebuild this into a super team. And that is not what it is doing. For Kize, to me, seems almost a Vegeta character to Kagami. He's the rival for him, not in personality, but just in he's the Vegeta to this guy's Goku, because no matter how good Kagami gets, Kize will keep up with him because he will see it and he'll be able to follow on that path. And I feel like they will play him more times. I'm pretty sure that does happen. I know if they play Midorima's team again in another tournament. So They definitely had to repeat playing these guys over and over again because apparently there's only these teams.
Even though the bracket shows like 800 teams on it.
Right.
Right. Because basketball is very big in Tokyo. Because isn't this just Tokyo? Or does it eventually go to all of Japan?
I don't know. I mean, they're dealing with the three kings of Tokyo, so I imagine Tokyo maybe just beats all the other divisions.
Yeah, but so the game that ends this where we only watched the first 13 episodes. The game at the end of that was only to get to the next part of the tournament. That isn't the end of the tournament.
Right.
That's so many teams.
That's a lot of teams.
That's a lot.
So they go to their practice game, and when they get there to play this other team, the court's divided in half, and they're like, "Yeah, we're practicing on that half, and we're going to do a scrimmage game, practice game against you on the other half." And they're really offended by this, and it's one of the reasons Kize asked Kuroko to join his team, and multiple characters stated he joined a bad team, and they're offended that he would want to, that he would even consider going to one of these bad teams instead of coming to one of their great teams. They all kind of want him on their team.
I don't understand the great offense they're taking. It boggles my mind that it's like, oh, it was a personal attack on me.
Well, let's change the dressing for a moment. Let's take it into something that we're more familiar with, right? Like, so you've got an anime about a D&D session, right? And you've got an awesome wizard, and the wizard goes over and says, "Yeah, I don't want to go with you guys, paladin, cleric, whatever. You guys are too awesome. I need to go over here to the peasant group, and I'm going to support them." And so the paladin and cleric are like, "But we really could have used a wizard. You know that, right? You jerk."
I think there's also a little bit of it spits in the face of their ideals, which is that, hey, I will be the most talented of the generation of miracles, and I will take a team and win with it. Where he's going to this bad team, and he's like, I'm going to make this entire team great.
So he would have been the cleric, not the wizard. You're right. Yeah.
But he's a healer.
I like the wizard, though.
He's a support, not a healer.
He is a support, that's a healer.
In some games, they just give speed boosts and stuff. He's a buffer,
which is usually
so
also a healer. Yeah, he's a bard.
Look, I've also never played paladin. Yeah,
Mark looks so lost.
Mark, you know what a bard is, right?
No.
Okay.
It's a minstrel with one
What's
of
a
those
minstrel?
little guitars. Medieval guitarist, basically.
Okay, that sounds like.
You didn't have to tell him.
Yeah, we really.
Oh, come on! No. The more you know. Hey, we're learning about sports, right?
So, and this other team's not even going to play Kize. They're like, no, why would we waste you? So to get their attention, Kagami dunks and breaks the rim off the basket. And he's like, well, I guess we can't play on these baskets no more. And they have to open up the full gym and turn it into a full real game. And they do put Kize in, which is what he wanted, because he wants to go against Kagami and challenge him. And then they kind of start getting spanked, which is, it's very, very shonen, Oh, I'm going to fight this new enemy. Oh, his power is so overwhelming, but my determination and will win the day.
Oh my God.
What accent is that?
They
I have more feeling.
They explain it in this anime that Siren is a slow starting team, but it is very much to fit into that shonen trope of, I'm overwhelmed by this new enemy. Just kidding. I have abilities that you didn't know about yet. I learned, Destructo Disc.
This is not even my final form.
Right.
They even do, I swear it's a call out to Dragon Ball Z, because when Ada, is that how you pronounce it, Jason? Ada?
Aida.
The girl? Aida? Yeah. When she's checking out Kagami, all of her numbers are just going off the chart, just like the scouter. And she's like, it just doesn't go that high. It's over 9,000. Yeah. So it's a thin facade.
Yeah.
Mark, how easy is it to break one of these rims?
That wasn't a breakaway rim. It looked like that was just a straight bolt on one of the side hoops. So
and it was wood too.
Yeah, he could easily break that. That wouldn't be a thing for a guy like him. I think he's 6'5". It said probably 220. I don't know. I'm just guessing, but And he didn't even mean to, right? He came down, he's like, oh, it's great. And then he noticed that the rim was in his hand.
Yeah, he was surprised. So yeah, he wasn't, and he was a little worried about paying for it too.
But yeah, all the rims are breakaway, the main rims, but the side hoops generally aren't.
Jason, you pointed out once the rims are CGI in most of the shots.
Yeah.
Which they almost never hit the backboard because they don't
have
the hole in the backboard.
I was going to ask you about that. Why did it look so much different? The hoop always looked different.
So the net would be fairly complicated to hand draw each frame. So they probably saved time and money CGIing it. Plus, it was so unimportant, and they felt they could probably get away with it.
It was distracting, that's for sure, because it's like, why did it change?
Yeah.
Yep.
So the game starts really exhausting. Like both teams are just scoring back and forth. I think it's in the next half of the game. Like I said, they're falling behind, and we kind of learn Hyuga's power, and this is kind of where we identify. So up to this point, he has been the stoic team leader, smart guy, and then they're like, yeah, when he gets serious, he turns into an a-hole, and then he never misses.
That's his power.
Is that the guy with glasses?
Yeah, the guy with glasses. I really liked that idea, and I really started to like this character. I was upset they didn't take it further. I wanted to see like a real personality switch. Like, he just turns into a monster of a man and just like starts trash talking everybody. It like completely leaves behind the sophistication in class we see normally. But it's almost very subtle. And if they hadn't called it out, I probably wouldn't have even noticed he was having a personality switch.
Actually, it would have been pretty gay if one of his teammates came up to like slap him on the back, be like, "Nice shot." And he turns around and goes, "Screw you."
Yeah. They actually explain where this came from, because this isn't an innate power like the other characters have. This was because he was worried about his performance under pressure. And so Ida made him break all of his little minis whenever he would miss during practice. And he agreed to it, of course. And so this basically made it so that missing matters when it gets down to the line. And so I don't know, for me, it was a funny idea, but the fact that they explained it that way later just kind of took it out of the realm of powers and just made it into a guy that has put so much stress and anxiety on himself that it's starting to affect his behavior.
Right. Well, most of the powers are like, yeah, they're not real, but they're also not supernatural yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know there's one
except for the ones that are.
Oh, but what? Okay, so what did you guys? That was my thoughts on Hugo. What did you guys think?
I thought he was actually a pretty good character. I did, even with what I was saying just now, I did enjoy watching the change in pace. It was a different flavor, and the anime needed that up and down just to kind of get out of the almost stale rhythm that was usually there.
Right.
I thought he was my favorite character. And unfortunately for this anime, that's not saying a ton, because when I was describing who my favorite character was, I didn't remember his name. But I liked his stoicness, and I liked that leading the team mattered to him, and that he not only wanted to be a good basketball player, but he wanted to be a good strategist and wanted to be a good team lead. And on that level, I could connect with that character.
Okay, how about you, Mark?
Yeah, for me, to be honest, I didn't recognize him any different than any of the other ones, except for he had glasses.
He had glasses.
Yeah.
So you know he's smart.
and like,
if you're dumb,
like he did something this game kind of, wasn't that special. And then, another game, another guy got to do like one thing, but it didn't really matter, so really it's just like, okay, this is just a break between, let's go back to the blue and red guys.
Exactly. Yes. I love that the other powers were things like he can shoot from anywhere in the court and sometimes make it. That was one of the powers.
That's the cat guy. And honestly,
that was the cat guy's power.
I think they were just making that up to make him feel good,
Yeah.
It wasn't really a power. It's like
okay. Mark, tell me though, if a guy has a 50% shot ratio, no matter where he shoots, you always put him on the outside, right? That's 50%'s not bad.
50%'s pretty good. Yeah, that's true. Especially since it doesn't look like he's a dunker, so he's taking jump shots.
Or also the guy he's just really good at defense. That's his power.
I like that because the thing was he was not as tall, so he had to defend in a better way so on the basketball team we played in as kids, we didn't have a whole lot of tall kids, and a lot of other schools apparently did. So I was very tall compared to the rest of our team, so I got put on the really tall guys a lot. So I felt like oh yeah, I've been there. I know that feeling.
I like the separation of roles. I just think that it's funny to define something that's kind of a role as a power. Just let it be. This guy is good at this, and it's not a power.
Right. So the game keeps going. Again, Kize is beating them left and right. They keep trying to score back, but they're unable to take the lead. Kuroko guards Kize and manages to steal the ball from him, and that kind of shifts the momentum. But Kize accidentally hits Kuroko and gives him like a small concussion, basically.
I thought that was on purpose at first, and then immediately you realize, oh no, that was an accident. That was really weird. Just that whole situation was weird.
I'm really surprised an accidental arm swing could give someone a concussion
and like blood coming down the side of his face.
A hit to start bleeding.
Yeah,
probably should have been an elbow. That's more believable.
Yes.
Would that be a foul if you accidentally smack somebody really hard like that?
Depends on the ref.
So you got a hockey ref in there.
Not one of those Seahawk refs.
I don't think that's how it works.
No, it's not. I wanted his tone made me want to joke, and I couldn't make it. I'm sorry.
Nice work.
I do, from my understanding. And I think one of my kids told me this, is that this is actually Kuroko's weakness. Because no one knows where he is on the court, he accidentally gets hit and hurt. And because he's kind of frail, he gets hurt easily. And this is just one of his innate weaknesses.
Are they fans of this anime?
Yeah, they like the volleyball one better, but a couple times I was watching it, they'd be like, "Oh, sweet child Kuroko." They're teenage girls. Give them a break.
Okay.
That might have been me.
The truth comes out.
You've been a teenage girl for 20 years, Trey.
You know I have editing power, right? The game goes back and forth. Kize gets faster and stronger. And in the final quarter, it goes back to a run and gun. Kuroko finally does come back into the game, even though he's still woozy, and he helps. Basically, they get to a tie, and knowing that Kize can do anything they do, that no matter how they act, he'll be able to copy it. In the final seconds, Kuroko and Kagami run an alley-oop play, and they make it look like Kuroko's going to shoot, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, he can't shoot!" And then he's just doing an alley-oop, and Kagami, who does a super jump, this is the first time we see one of his super jumps, is able to dunk it over Kize. That's his power. He jumps really, really good.
Jumping good. That's another power. I get that this is a series of exaggerated caricatures of real abilities and things that are important in basketball. It's just really funny to me because you don't have to make them powers. Like already you could just say he's can really jump high, and that's it. It doesn't go into the realm of a superpower at that point.
Right, but he can't have power levels and limits to the power if we don't go into that realm.
There's only really one superpower, and that's that guy that can see the whole court, I think. Everything else is just exaggerated physical abilities or mental abilities, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so weird.
So There's there's Haiku, the volleyball sport anime, which is considered the better one. But the reason I kind of wanted the basketball one was because I knew they had powers in it, and I was like, well, if I'm gonna watch an anime, I want to see something ridiculous like basketball players who can, jump higher every time they try.
And you've got something there. You put a GIF into our chat when we were talking about this before I started watching it, and it showed what looked like a Dragon Ball Z blast, which was actually a basketball pass.
Right.
And okay, you got my attention. If we're going to make a caricature of it, go that far. Like, let it be something that's so absolutely crazy that it warrants the powers. But to have like this barely over...
I feel like they're ramping up. I feel like they're building it. Like, it's going to get crazy. I'm pretty sure, like what I said, when I went further ahead, there was a character who was like freezing people with a look. He'd be like, look at them. They'd be like, ugh, and he'd just dribble around them. and I'm like, okay, well, that's really weird. You can't explain that with anything. So they win the game. Kize does do his crying. I like his point guard and how he's playing with the Generation of Miracles guy, and he just slaps him around like, you're an idiot. I have no respect for you.
Yeah, that was weird. That guy was just a dick to him the whole time. Can I say dick? Sorry, I don't know.
You can say dick. And that is physical violence like that in anime happens a lot. I mean, Bulma slaps Goku all the time, punches him over the head, even though there's no way it should hurt at all. They just like physical comedy. It shows up.
Now, also, is that the same guy that shows up later when he's doing his commentating?
Yeah, he's the one who goes to the game with him, and they watch from the stands.
He seems very knowledgeable. So,
yeah. The next it's the in between episodes, in between the games, that I was like, because they go to like a steak eating challenge because they don't have any money and they have to eat giant steaks, and then Kagami eats all the steaks, and so they get it for free. Kuroko goes to talk to Kize because Kize wants to warn him about Midorima. There's a character who's going to be coming up, and is like, hey, this guy's coming. And actually, we should probably talk about Midorima because he shows up at this game, and he's got his lucky frog, and he's got his fingers taped up. And this is the Generation of Miracles 3-point shooter, aka green hair,
aka Steph Curry.
Yeah. So
when did this anime come out?
I don't know. I just don't know. It's older than most of the anime we watch. And usually we're pretty current in our animes, but thematic and stuff. So it was okay.
Perfect.
Mark, what did you think of Midorima?
I don't know. He was weird. He was all right, and I don't understand why he didn't like the blue-haired guy.
Because he respects him.
It was a difference in ideals.
And his ability to shoot from anywhere on the court is fine until you start getting three-quarter court, and then that's not realistic at all. And
shoot from under the other basket.
Yeah, and then they talk. Well, the downside of that is that it takes it a lot longer to wind up. Well, yeah, obviously it does. So that's kind of I don't know.
And that's also a trope. You have to fully explain every weakness in an ability to really. It's really setting the rules of, okay, so when they fight, here's how you get around the fact he has this ability. They had to always add in a little caveat.
We'll get to the actual game, right? But they could have done a better job of guarding him.
All right, Jeremy, what'd you think of him?
His superstitions really cracked me up because, like, yes, part of what he really didn't like about Kuroko was that disagreement of ideals, but it was exacerbated by his view of the two of them having these opposed blood types. And that, and you could see it tie in as well with, like, he was checking his horoscope every morning.
He's super superstitious.
And so all the things that he would carry with him or whatever were his lucky items for the day. It was funny to me. I really got a kick out of it. I enjoy it whenever they bring characters that do that in. I find it very entertaining. And so, yeah. But as far as a character, though, they called him a tsundere. And silly me, I didn't realize that could be applied to men as well. I thought they'd have a different word for it. So, but it makes sense. I mean, he's basically somebody that is snippety, hard to deal with, is very cold until you get past that, and then they warm up. So there must be a nicer side of him that we're just not seeing yet.
Right. I do feel like that is. I feel like he's one of those characters who are going to be abrasive on the front, but you find out like there's a backstory and like, oh, he's a sweetie, really. Jason, what do you think?
I didn't like him.
Just straight up.
On what grounds, sir?
I thought his superstitions were dumb. I thought his bandages around his fingers to protect his fingers and fingernails was a little overboard.
How important are fingernails in shooting, Mark?
Well, I've never heard of that, but
Okay.
I didn't. Maybe at the higher levels that's important, but I've never heard of people missing games for hangnails. That happens in baseball, but not in. I've never heard of it happening in basketball. There's guys that hurt their thumbs or fingers or whatever and just tape them up and keep playing.
Okay. And just like what Mark said earlier, it's like he's shooting threes. Why is this so difficult to block? I mean, I understand he's doing a high arch, but there's a limit to that ballistic angle. I mean, if someone's like in your face and their hand is nearly to the ball, you can't just throw it straight up and then expect it to make the ballistic arch. It's just not going to happen.
It's a power, Jason. It's like all these other powers.
And this is why I didn't like him. I thought it was dumb. It is, yeah.
I liked him. I at least he was a character who was different than all the other characters. He is very anime trope. He is a guy with glasses who is kind of an a-hole and
overpowered.
Yeah, and overconfident in himself and looks down on people. And I liked the power. I thought it was ridiculous and
miraculous.
Give me ridiculous powers.
Supernatural, if you will.
Does his personality fit a guy that would be superstitious? I didn't see that either, but maybe.
I agree.
No, it was just an extra flavoring on him. Like I said, the personality is an anime trope. It's something that a lot of animes usually have a character who acts like that almost every single time.
If he's acting like how he is, I don't think he'd be carrying around a little samurai squirrel with him,
It was a raccoon and it was adorable.
I absolutely loved how when he lost, which we'll eventually get to, right? When he lost, the camera chooses to go to the samurai raccoon, and it's got like this giant grin. It's mocking him, like, "Yeah, you thought bringing me would make you win."
And then the players on his team were like, "Maybe we should break all this stuff." Like, what are you doing?
So the one thing I will say positive about this character is he did facilitate one of the coolest moments, or at least visually in the anime. He throws this 3-pointer, and because it takes so long for it to go up and come down, the rest of the team hasn't made it back because they're always questioning, is it going to make it?
They have to be ready for a rebound just in case.
Yeah. Right. So because Kuroko knows it's going to swish, he is there to catch it, and he tells Kagami, keep running. And so Kagami's all the way down at the other end of the court, and he wings it so hard. Again, another supernatural moment. He wings it so hard, it doesn't even have an arch when he throws it. It is a straight line across the court from basket to basket.
You're jumping super, super ahead. We will get to this scene.
I know, but I was just saying that this is one of the things that like I could find positive about the guy is that was a really cool looking scene.
Yeah.
And he just happened to be a part of it.
Right.
I liked how he would shoot the 3 and then just walk away. It was
Mic
like
drop.
Cool guys don't look at explosions kind of thing. I thought
but he's never missed. Is that right? He's never.
Yeah, that's his thing.
As long as his horoscope says he won't.
I thought he'd never missed.
Yeah, so far
But he won't
never
shoot.
has.
If his luck is bad, he won't shoot.
Yeah.
If he believes anything's gonna make him miss, he won't shoot. Because we'll get to him. We'll get to the game and we'll tear into it.
Well, then let's get to it.
Okay. Nothing really happens in episode 5. This is where they play against the thugs, and basically this is kind of where Kize says, Kagami's going to turn into one of the Generation of Miracles too, and he's going to be just like us.
This was so weird to me because it was basically just a moment for them to have like a skirmish fight with thugs. Like basketball fighting is what this came off to me as. Is that?
Yeah.
Well,
Did you guys get that too?
I thought it was the point when the red-haired guy warmed up to the blue-haired guy a little bit and like came into his defense. And
I think it was to show that if Kize and Kagami were on the same team, like they would just be so overbearingly powerful. They're now set up for their tournament to start, and their first game is against a team who has a super powerful player because he is so tall. And I didn't even write down the whole name, Papa Mumbaya.
Yeah.
They end up just calling him Dad because they can't figure out how to pronounce his name. So I'll probably just call him Papa.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. How Dad's easier than Papa, or like they have to come
It's
up
got to be a
with another
translation
name?
thing.
Yeah.
It was more of, I don't think it was so much that it was because they like the nickname. So the nickname of father or dad instead of.
They even called him Tosan, so.
Yeah, they didn't even use the full word for dad.
Like, yeah, if you listen to the Japanese when you saw dad on the screen, they say Tosan.
One thing, Mark, that the Japanese love to do, especially in animes, is wordplay with their characters because they're symbols. And if there's a symbol that looks like another word, but it actually means this word, they like to play with that, and that's like their form of puns and stuff. Like, so you'll see a lot of animes where like even our main character, his name is Taiga, which kind of means tiger if you write it right, and that kind of stuff. And so they refer to him as like a tiger. They just really enjoy. They can do that kind of stuff because of the way their words are created.
And that does not translate well.
No, not so much.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, when they're playing with his name and they come to Dad, I just kind of throw up my hands like, okay, I guess that's a language thing that I'm not going to get. Yeah. When they go to play him, Papa mistakes Kuroko as a child, which is really pisses him off. Now, this is an emotionless character. Jeremy, you never said anything about it. I thought for sure you'd be like, oh, emotionless character, Troy, deal with that.
He came across as superficially emotionless. Like, he's actually a ball of emotions.
Yeah,
and he's
like,
just pretending he doesn't have them. Yeah.
Do you think it's just part of his I don't have presence is just that he's just not expressing?
Well, I think a lot of it is deliberate. Like, I think that they genuinely were trying to say that he is just that good at sleight of hand. That is his power. And so I think that part of that is, don't have spikes of emotion and you're even less visible. So I think he's learned to suppress them. But it's not as true as someone who doesn't comprehend emotion, which is what I actually really enjoy.
So they play against this team, and basically the combination of Kuroko and his ability and Kagami, who is jumping higher and higher trying to block this guy because he tells him, like, I'm going to block one of your shots. It's going to happen. And he starts getting up there with that's his ability. And I know Jeremy was upset that Papa said he's growing taller.
Yeah, Papa's like, he's getting taller. He's growing taller. And I'm like,
to me, that was it meant he's getting to him mentally. Mentally, Kagami's getting taller to Papa because he sees his opponents based on height because he's so big.
And that's like his superpower, right? Is that he's really tall
and from another country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. But it fits, doesn't it?
What country was he from?
Senegal.
He's from South Africa somewhere, right? Oh, Senegal? Yeah.
I thought that's what it was.
I think you're right.
I've totally heard of that country, and that makes sense.
So wait, his superpower was that he was black. Oh.
Tall.
In Japan?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm racist on 2 levels now. The thoughts and feelings of Troy do not reflect Baka Baka Baka.
Even though he is Baka Baka Baka.
they managed to overtake him and win the game. They then watch the team Shutoko, which is what Midorima is on. They're the orange jerseys. They stay to watch their game, and they basically get to see Midorima shoot his 3-point shot and see how he has that super arc and everything we described before. Because looking at the tournament layout, if they get to the finals of this part of the tournament, they will have to play them. And they also see like they have lots of other good players. They have the big guy. They have a good point guard. Then they talk about how on the final day they will have to play 2 games in a row. And they will both be top level teams. One team will be Seiho, who is known for having super defense, and the other team will be the Shitako.
So, Mark, does that ever happen in a tournament where a team will play twice
in one day?
Could happen. Not college or pro. In high school, maybe at a tournament, maybe early college, but not usually, because you're going to get hurt. People are going to get hurt, especially playing at that level. So not generally.
Which kind of actually happens. A person does get hurt because of it.
Hey, did you skip the lunch part?
Yep. So to be honest, sometimes we skip unimportant stuff. We try to just click on the important stuff. But if there's ever a scene you want to bring up because you had something to say about it, go ahead and.
No, I wanted you to do your little cheer.
Oh, did that already? That did already happen. You're right. The Japanese lunch rush where they had to go buy the bread.
Yes.
God, that was a good scene. Everything was predictable, but I liked how he used the other guy to body surf across the crowd.
And that was also just furthering the blue-haired guy's power of.
Yeah. And you kind of knew he was going to be the one who walks up with like, "Hey, what was the problem?" Because he totally disappeared from the scene. But
it makes me wonder how the seniors did it the previous year.
Yeah.
And there's superpowers going on there because people are getting flung like across the room.
Everybody has superpowers.
Yeah. Okay, so this school, which apparently like could barely field a basketball team, has an American football team, like all these different clubs of just like huge guys. And I was like,
sumo wrestlers,
rugby.
Rugby. There was also like a motorcycle gang or something. There was something
maybe
else.
The problem is too many clubs, guys. Maybe you get better members if you just cut down on clubs. So we are on episode 8 now, where they study Saiho's film and they come up with a plan.
I like that they did that. I was happy that they actually engaged in some research.
That's a common thing for teams to do, right? Is study
all levels.
Sometimes the New England Patriots even just like film private practices and.
That doesn't sound like you're supposed to be able to do that.
Like doctors private practice?
No, that's a show on ABC.
Oh.
Okay, so after but they go to the game and they're warned. Like we played these guys last year and they beat us by double digits.
They tripled their score, I thought.
Was it double or triple?
Let's see. These are the martial arts guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they doubled their score. They wanted to triple it this time. Yeah.
And there's the freshman on that team that's just talking smack the whole time. And he's
that guy's a jerk.
Sugawa is his name, and he's like like as good as they all are as defense. He's like the best one. Not quite Generation of Miracles, but once he's on you, you're not able to score. And Kizé shows up to this game, and by the time he sits down, it's already 0-12. And Siren just can't score at all because the defense is so tight. We learned that they use martial arts in their movements. Mark, should we incorporate that into basketball martial arts?
I want to watch. You guys got to tape it if you do.
and they were doing like box one defense, which I was kind of surprised that like they would get to that level of discussion of what defense they were playing, and I would just assume that they were going to play man the whole time, based on this loose basketball anime. But they're like talking about doing box one and whatnot, so that was kind of interesting.
Box one.
Yeah, what's that?
Box one's where it's 4 guys basically are in a zone, and then there's one guy who is going to just guard man to man one player, which is what they should have done on what's his name, Miradami, the green guy.
Midorima.
Yeah, they should have just done that on him. And so there's just one guy bodied up on one guy, and basically you don't let him move, and then the other 4 guys play zone. It's fairly effective if they have one player that's really good. But
and zone is defense where you just cover an area of the floor, and if anything comes to that area, now that's yours. Whoever steps into that, if the ball comes to that area, now you're on duty to guard that.
I did have a question. If you notice where the 3-point line was, and then you've got where the drawing of the
key.
3-point line. Yeah, the key. That's what I think of. In America, isn't the key straight back to the basketball?
Yeah, that's international. The international is like that. So everybody besides us does it like that.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that. Because I kind of thought like, are they just being artistic? What's going on here?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't understand. I don't know why why international is wider like that.
Metric, maybe?
Well, I think it's so that they don't just put the big guy down, because you get 3 in the key, right? So you don't just put the big guy down on the key and let him post up with the key being angled out like that. You can't play that close to the basket with your back to the hoop because you'll be in the key already. So I think that's why, but I'm not sure.
And also another rule thing. They mentioned Kagami was holding onto the ball too long in one of the scenes. I thought there was just a shot clock. You had to get it. You had to at least shoot it before are players not supposed to hold on to it for more than so much time?
There's a shot clock, and then if you're just holding the ball and not moving, there's a 5-second count, and then but it can go to like 4 seconds and then start dribbling, and then that goes away. And as long as you're moving, then you won't get that count. But as soon as you pick the ball up and you're holding it for 5 seconds, and you have to do something with it or it's a turnover.
And I don't think there's any shot clocks in this because they had to stop for long chats.
Yeah, they did.
The game.
Yeah, 5-minute shot clock.
One thing that's important about this game is that Kagami is getting fouls. We see him get a charging foul, and they even say that's his second because he can't get past this defense guy. And then Ada gives him all a speech, and he goes out and fakes Sugawa out and drives past him. And Jeremy, you brought this up that why hadn't he faked him out before? And my guess was that he's usually so much bigger and faster than whoever he plays against that it's just his muscle memory is just to drive, and that'll take care of it. And that it actually took someone reminding him, do a fake, try something besides your normal thing. So my question to Mark, do you think he would have already tried faking out by that point, or would that make sense?
Yeah, no, you're right. It always works for you, then you're not going to do something different. But also probably at that point, when you have a good defender on you like that, like it's going to take a lot more energy and power to get around him. Whereas if somebody easier, you would just be able to do it. And so, there's a cost benefit balance of how much energy do I spend here to get around this guy, or is there better ways to get the ball in the hoop?
It's interesting you call that because they point. That's kind of Sugawa's thing. Even when he gets beat, he gets this big smile because he's like, "Yeah, you just used up a ton of energy to beat me." And they said something about like he marked him, and what they mean by that is like because Sugawa is going to defend him in such a way that he is going to run out of strength. And they say later, like, it doesn't happen until the second game, but they're like, hey, you're marked. It actually worked. He's out of strength because of you. And he's like, why didn't it happen during my game?
And so the other thing, too, that you just mentioned is, like, he's getting fouls. And so he had 2 fouls, right? And where the school that I came from, if you have 2 fouls in the first half, you're sitting for the remainder of the first half. So it was really interesting that they kept him in. And then especially after 3, you're not staying in. There's no chance that you're going to stay in the first half with 3 fouls.
There's 2 things there. I felt like they overplayed him all the time. Like even if he wasn't fouling out, they were not pulling him. And that's even like LeBron's not staying in a whole game. That seems insane.
Except for sometimes.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm wrong. But the other thing is, at the end of this game, he has 4 fouls. And they're like, we can't put you in. You could foul out. But it's the end of the game. So what's the difference if you don't put him in?
And foul out, that means he's taken out of this game, right?
Right.
But not the next.
Right. It would only affect this game.
Yeah, there were some interesting coaching decisions there, I would say.
Or lack thereof, you might say.
Because that's basically what happens. Is they do manage to start scoring back, and they make this into a game, but he has to sit out for the entire second half because he's up to 4 fouls. They come to the end, and he's like, "Hey, I want to go in," and they're like, "No." And then Kuroko's like, "I'll go in for you, and I'll take care of this guy that's been giving you so much trouble." And they're like, "Okay." And I'm like, you know what? What's the difference between him getting that 5th foul and you not letting him play at the end? Like I said, that doesn't really make sense.
Didn't make any sense.
Yeah. Just
I like your answer for why he didn't fake him out before, but I do wonder if his muscle memory was established in America where he was going up against taller opponents and would actually have a habit to fake them out.
Yeah, true.
Could be.
So,
that makes sense. I mean, it was just because they wanted this guy to be able to beat. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, it's the writer's running plot.
But even if you had to do all that in America, but you came back to Japan and you've been playing for a month, if it's been working for a month, you just do it until somebody stops you.
Okay, so maybe he just established a new.
It's not like anytime that you play that you always just go with your same moves. It's always fluid depending on the situation.
Yeah. This is when we also first get to see Eagle Eye, which is the point guard Azuki's power. Now, okay, I don't have a problem with Eagle Eye because all it is just he sees regular and then rebuilds it in his head in like a 3D thing and then can view it in his head from any angle. And so he has just really good situational awareness. I don't understand what you guys' issue with that is.
I don't have too much of an issue with Eagle Eye, except the concept of a person who can see things behind them. Just at the speed things move in a basketball court. For him to be able to keep a consistent layout of where everybody is, I think that's in the realm of powers, just like the Miracle Generation. I think that's where it belongs.
Yeah.
It's certainly
I
not. Yeah. And so to have him as a card, to have him as just another one of the cardboard cutout characters and say his power's not that great, but he has like vision over a huge section of the court, not the whole court, that comes later, but a huge section of the court, and it's accurate and up to date. That's a crazy power.
Yeah, I think you can have vision like that. And there's players in real life, that have not obviously that very specific ability, but there's players that can see the court like that. The problem that I had with it is that the blue-haired guy's main power is to not be able to be seen. So to me, that he shouldn't even be able to notice him. And there's players, where they are, and then there's other guys that are sneakier. And if this guy's power is to be invisible, then it should negate this guy's ability to find him on the court, I think.
And I also saw that there was an inconsistency between Eagle Eye never claimed to be able to see him, but Hawkeye did. And I was like, but Eagle Eye claimed that they had the same power. Hawkeye could just see more of the court.
The Siren Offerings never seem to have problems finding Kuroko, but maybe they're just because they know to look for him. It's in their heads. But.
Well, they made it pretty clear earlier on when they were fighting, playing against Kai's, that his power only works for about 40 minutes, and then the
people
other
get used to it.
That's true. That's true.
So I think his team is just used to it,
which also doesn't make sense.
Because then they lose him when they're walking around.
Yeah.
We're on episode 10.
We're making good time.
They actually start winning against Saiho because while Saiho has all these martial arts, they're very pattern oriented. And because they watched that footage and because they've been playing against it for so long, they now kind of realize, oh, he's pointed his foot that direction. Now I know which way he's going to run. So they're able to be one step ahead. And they're coming back. And in the end, thanks to Kuroko, Hyuga's able to score a buzzer beater and they win this game 73-71.
This is probably my favorite part of this season, just because seeing this enemy team or this opponent team, it's so fighting based. Everything, we keep using adjectives that revolve around fighting. It's funny to me. But
it really is a shonen anime with basketball on top of it.
Yeah, it's like a very thin veneer on the surface. But yeah, seeing them, they seemed more evenly matched. It was more about figuring out your opponent and being able to guess what their weaknesses were as a regular human, not outdo some kind of crazy arbitrary miracle power. So yeah, I really actually enjoyed this part. This was my highlight.
Was it just me, or did one of the dudes on there literally look like he was 32?
That happened a lot.
But if he's a college senior,
maybe he is.
Oh, but he could be older. He looked just tired. Like he had these deep lines in his face, and he was the big guy. You're meaning their big captain.
Yeah, and the guy that was like, "You're gonna need at least 10 more years of experience." It's like, well, how long have you been in this team, dude?
yeah. I quoted that in our chat because that shocked me. Yep.
They see Shotoku, who is playing on the court next to them, wins 113-38. So they have to get ready to play them. They're all exhausted, and there's a scene where Kuroko goes into the bathroom, and the point guard for the other team's in there, and sees, and he's like, "Hey," and calls out that he's behind him, and Kuroko and the guy with him are both like, "How did he notice you? Because no one notices you." And it's just kind of this foreboding, like, "Uh-oh, someone can see you." And we'll get into why in a second. They start the game and try to go with the alley-oop. Midori was able to block it, and then he shoots from behind, not at the 3-point line, but way behind the 3-point line, and makes it. Because the start of this game is it's 0-0, and they're like, whoever scores first is going to take control of the quarter. Is that a thing, Mark?
Yeah, momentum matters a ton in basketball. It's crazy. Anytime that somebody goes on a run, that's basically how the game goes. Then you got to call timeout to stop that momentum. But
that was my other thing, is timeouts can be used to stop momentum, and they didn't really call that out. They basically are like, yeah, the only way to break momentum is the quarter.
and when the green haired guy made that shot from deep, everybody was all surprised. And it's like, blue haired guy, do some scouting and help your team out. Like, what this guy's gonna do, and so why don't you tell everybody? Like
that also happened with Kize, and I'm pretty sure it happens in the next guy they fight. Like,
yeah, it's the anime shock trope moment.
Yeah, and they're like, oh my god, he can do that, and Kuroko will be like, yeah, he can.
Yeah, it's like the coach needs to be asking him. You played with him. What's he gonna do, and what are weaknesses? That's
why the New England Patriots always draft from the Jets. That's true. That is a true statement.
You don't draft from other teams.
Okay, you're right. Why they pick up free agents? This is an anime podcast. You shut your mouth.
Nicely done, Mark.
After that 3-point shot, this is the scene Jason had talked about earlier, where the super pass comes out and he's able to fire a bullet all the way down. And he talks about how he has this super pass, but not many people can catch it, but he thinks Kagami's the one. And so the point of it is they're able to score right back and keep the momentum.
Oh, it looks awesome.
It does look cool.
It also sets up a really cool debate that I liked that they added into this game of what's more important, 3 points or dunks. Because Midorima calls out, like, yeah, you're scoring for every time I score, but I'm getting 3 and you're getting 2. So what does it matter? It's fine if we go toe to toe. And then we even get a flashback of this, of like, oh, hey, I think these are important. I think these are important, when the Generation of Miracles were together. Mark, your thoughts on that? I've been waiting to ask you about that.
So, I thought a little bit about this. So, a super powerful dunk is going to motivate the team that the dunker is on. So, like, back in the day in the Lakers, when Shaq would do some, like, super dunk, like, that whole team gets energized from that. If you get a 3, like somebody just buries a 3 on you and it's like a dagger, that's not motivation for the team with the guy that made the three, that's just debilitating for the guy that just the team that got it against them. And so it's kind of like the opposite. Like one like the dunk pumps up your team, where a three that's just a dagger just like takes all the spirit out of the team that had a shot against them. It happens all the time. If you watch, especially like the March Madness or whatever, if you watch a team that's starting to get momentum and the guy just goes down, does like a super dunk, then all of a sudden they're just running, then they drop a three, and then the other team's just like spent, and then you got to call timeout. But yeah, they both have their place, I think.
Huh.
So
good answer.
More than just points.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this is when Hawkeye comes into play because the character that has it, Takeo, is guarding Kuroko. Obviously, you guys have big issues with Hawkeye. We've kind of already gotten into it before, but why don't you explain your issue with Hawkeye, especially over Eagle Eye?
Jeremy, why don't you go first? Because I think I've got some different points than you do, and I'd like to hear what you have to say first.
Okay, so for me, Hawkeye is Deus Ex Machina. He's just a way to get in front of and slow down Kuroko. When you have somebody that's invisible, how do you stop them? You have to make them visible. And that's what he does. That he's just a beacon. There's no reason for him to have that ability if Eagle Eye doesn't, and their abilities are the same thing. And they don't call them out as different. Isn't
it shown in anime style to put your counter against the character? Because you're right. I mean, he literally only exists in this anime to be a counter to Kuroko, and I'm sure there's going to be more characters in the future that will have other abilities that directly counter him to give them issue.
I think a counter usually is supposed to be more satisfying. This one fell flat to me because there was no explanation why he could see him, but the Eagle Eye couldn't. Everybody, I don't know. That just really sticks in my craw because it's like they're just basically saying he can see him. Period.
No,
neutralizing it.
They did give a little bit of justification. I think this is where my problem is it reaches into the realm of supernatural. So he's got Eagle Eye, but the reason they distinguished it is not only the radius, but he's got a similar power to Kuroko. He can not only be where he needs to be to like do a back tap or to guard in the right spot or to like he passes really well. So because of those abilities and that ability to know, like they don't say Kuroko necessarily has Eagle Eye, but he always knows where to pass directly. Because of that, he has this foreknowledge of where everyone's going to be along with this top-down view. So it's like you can't get away from his vision because he sees everything. Plus he has like this precognitive ability where he can nearly predict the future. And it's like, okay, if you've got a guy like that on your team, how is anybody standing up to you guys?
I never got the impression that Kuroko had the same power as this guy, even implicitly. While he was accurate in his passes, I never got the impression that he was observing in that same sort of out-of-body way. Yeah, I got the impression that being invisible, he could just see.
We actually get a couple moments where it like slows down time when a ball's like about to reach Kuroko, and you see him.
He's thinking about it.
He looks through his options, and so he didn't already know them. He actually has to boom, 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 boom. Okay, it's going to that one. So I agree with that. Mark, your thoughts on, Hawkeye?
Well, again, I think that, that's a little exaggerated, but some of that is, there's guys that can see the court like that, not to that level, but that can do that and do some of that anticipation. The thing about that, though, is, and I guess they kind of get into it, but if you know that there's a guy that knows that, then you can counter him. There's a lot of faking that you can do, or misdirection, which apparently doesn't always work, but you can go at him and make him believe that he knows what's going to happen, and then don't do that. So, there's ways to get around that. And also, he's only one guy out of 5, so he can only cover so much of the court himself, and he's not passing that ability on to the other 4, and so you can pick on those other guys. You can go around him.
Yeah, other people can see him. Somebody from your team could go after him, right?
Yeah.
But apparently they're too busy having conversations.
Yes.
So they have him taking out Kuroko, and the other problem they have is Minarima first fires a half court shot and then starts firing full court threes, literally just like catching the rebound and shooting it back and scoring threes from all ends of the court, and it really kind of starts making the game get out of hand.
Can I interject here real quick, Trey?
Yeah.
So Midorima,
yep.
He's not fast, and he's not particularly tall, and so the only thing that he can do is spot shoot, which means if you just put a guy on him and deny him the ball, then he's worthless, and that's just what they should have done.
Well, they did say he was a little fast, and he was big enough to block Kagami's early dunk. So I guess
that's true, but he's a spot shooter. That's his ability is to shoot from anywhere, and he's not coming off the dribble. So just deny him the ball, like make the other 4 guys beat you.
Well, see, that's why you need to be the coach and not Ada.
So, Mark, you were saying earlier, the way he shot with one hand on the side of the ball and the other one he throws with, that's nearly physically impossible to make a shot from full court.
Well, I mean, you could do it, but you'd have to be incredibly strong to have like a standard jump shot form from 3/4 court. Like you watch basketball or whatever, you need like a 2 or 3 step push to get to shoot from there, and that's going to be way easier to block. But you're not setting up and doing a set shot from 3/4 court,
especially if you're being defended too.
Yeah, unless you're nobody. Steph Curry can't do that.
Yeah, because every full court shot I've seen, like buzzer, Hail Mary kind of shots, are usually these giant hook shots
or these wind ups. Yeah, and you got to toss it.
Only because the Bard thing came up. Jason, Jeremy, do you know who Steph Curry is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just wanted to double check.
So Steph Curry is the closest thing to the green haired guy that there is in the NBA. It's pretty incredible. He has unlimited range. Basically, he can almost shoot from half court, and he makes it, and it's pretty crazy. So yeah, that's just who I liken him to.
You didn't have to tell them.
Does he bandage his fingers?
No, actually, he doesn't.
Oh.
He does do press conferences with his kid,
mm-hmm.
which is always cool to see.
But only when the stars align.
It's 27-45 at halftime of this game. Basically, Siren is half defeated. They're on the verge of giving up. They don't even really do good motivational speeches for these guys. They're just like, guys, yeah, we're probably gonna lose. A meteor may fall, but we should still try.
Didn't the coach once say, "If you win, I'll kiss you all"?
Yeah,
that was the last game. And then she's thinking in this game, like, how do I escalate that? Do I really want to do that?
Right.
And Hyuga's like, no. Like, he knows what she's going to say. And it's like, no, you're just going to say something stupid. You don't get what we're going through. Back off. Poor girl.
Yeah, because where do you go from there, right?
She could have escalated bases, yeah.
Man, we really need a female presence on this show. When they go back out and everyone's like, Kuroko, do you have a plan? He's like, I'm thinking of one. Everyone's like, what? Kagami starts, he kind of goes into like, I'm taking this all on myself, and he starts his jump start getting super again, and he starts almost blocking Minarima's shots until he eventually does. And he's not even stopping points from being scored, but he's like getting a finger on it or blocking enough so that it has to be rebounded and then dunked in. But they notice that like he is really overly exerting himself, and he gets to a point where he goes to block a shot and he's just flat footed. He doesn't jump at all, and it goes over him. And I think this is where. Yeah, this is where he tells the other players, like, you just get out of my way. I'm winning this. I'm doing this all. And Kuroko just punches him straight up in the face, knocks him on his butt, which then he gets up and punches him back. And they have the anime, bro talk, like, hey, it's about teamwork makes the dream work. I didn't like how they were saying, I didn't like how they phrased this. I didn't like if you win by yourself, it won't be fun. But if we win together, it'll be fun.
It'll be so much fun. We'll be so happy.
We'll talk about that later.
Did we already pass the part where the green guy misses for the first time?
Yes. Yeah, because he blocked the shot. Because there's the first one where he gets a finger on it and it bounces on the rim and then still goes in. And there's the one where he actually manages to block it. It misses. And then the other guy comes in and dunks it on the offensive rebound.
Because I think that would be important, and they didn't do this. But if you've never missed ever, and then you miss for the first time, that's going to rattle you. There's no way that you're just going to be like, oh, okay, that's fine. So I don't think after that. I think he should have been shook after that, but he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone get the sense that he has missed before? I felt like the way the other players talk to him, like, is today a day you can be 100% accurate, and he'll be like, yeah. But it seemed like they talked to him like there are days he can't be, and like maybe, like I said before, maybe he just never shoots on those days.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm remembering something. One of his teammates, I don't know if he was the captain, but he was the big guy on the team that was always at the front. He actually said in the previous game, in a previous game, not the same one that day. In a previous game, he said, if you screw up twice, you're out. And then they had Midorima like shrink to show that he was scared. So that does imply that there was some screwing up in the past.
Okay, fair enough. Regardless, though, if you're hitting 3/4 court shots and you miss for the first time, then it's going to rattle you a little bit.
What does rattle him, though, is when he hears the full horoscope, because apparently he didn't stop to. Oh no, he did listen to the full horoscope, but we didn't get to hear it, and because his horoscope says he's going to have a great day because he's a Cancer, but then it says watch out for Leos, and then he asks Kagami, "What's your sign?" And Kagami's like, "I'm a Leo," and he's like,
"Yep."
And that did kind of rattle him for a second. I don't think it ever showed in the actual gameplay that they went through, but that was what was his big deal. Like, oh no, the horoscope is never wrong. but I see what you're saying, Mark. That should have thrown off his rhythm so much, just because he was used to it. Kuroko comes back into the game, and this is when he starts really doing the super pass that only Kagami can catch, and Ada reveals Kagami can only do 2 more super jumps for the rest of the game.
Which is okay, because she's got that measuring power. I was actually kind of cool with the fact that she measured it out.
Right. Even if we'll get to that. They have him use the first one to block Midorima's shot immediately, because everyone on that team is thinking, oh, he's done, he's exhausted, he's already had a flat foot, he couldn't jump. And so they show, okay, I'm still here. And so they have to respect that. And then he uses the second one to dunk almost right after. And everyone's like, oh, that's really early.
But not everybody knows that he only had 2.
Right. They do figure it out by the end, though, because he does stop jumping, and they're like, the other team does figure it out. Okay, he's out of jumps. He has stopped. But this is where that dunk thing comes back in. Like, dunks are motivational, and that's what we needed.
Good thing he had 3.
Not there yet. But someone explain to me how Kuroko countered Takeo, because it was like he like broke his hawk vision by making it super focus in on himself or something.
Yeah, by holding the ball and by making him constantly pay attention to where he was, because he's so difficult to see, it made him zoom in instead of having the full field of vision. And so then he was able to just shrug that off and disappear.
And that can happen. I mean, again, this is highly exaggerated, but if you've got one guy that matters you can and you're a guy that can see the court like that, but you're focusing on this doesn't usually happen on a support guy. Mostly it's the guy that can shoot. You know where he is on the court at all times, but you can lose sight of the other guy. So that's an exaggerated version of a real thing.
So the part that confuses me is the focus is on Kuroko, but Kuroko's still the one who manages to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
That I didn't get. Like, oh, look at me! You're looking at me so much you can't see me.
I think it's because the way it's presented to us is that Hawkeye sees him through basically like a peripheral vision, not by directly looking at him, but by making him focus. He pulled his peripheral vision in to focus on him. So then all he had to do was step outside of his newly focused peripheral vision, and his existing power peripheral vision doesn't have him in it anymore.
Also, if you think about most sleight of hand artists, what are they doing? They're getting you to look at a spot so that they can do their misdirection. And they say, the more you look, the more you miss. And I think they're kind of playing off that concept.
The one he does on Midorima where he makes him focus on the ball so much that he's able to get around him, that one made sense. Jeremy, your explanation makes sense, but I also do not like it.
Oh, I don't like it either.
Okay. I figured you agreed.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Okay. End of the game, they're tied. Hyuga's able to shoot a long three and score and get them into the lead. But then with 3 seconds left, there's 3 seconds left. Midorina gets the ball, full court, and he stops and gives a speech. Like we've obviously been making jokes about how they stop in the middle of the game and just have conversations, and that's really weird. I couldn't even figure out how they it's not internal monologue. Like if it was internal monologue, I'd be like, oh, he's just thinking really fast.
Yeah.
This is external monologue that he's giving to Kagami in frozen time.
Yep. That's his other power. Miracle.
Well, they are the generation of.
That's right.
This is the one I couldn't.
That doesn't happen in real life. No.
No. So this was too stylistic for you.
Yeah, because like I said, this wasn't even a power or anything. This was just literally, we want the drama of the 3 seconds, but we also want the drama of the monologue, and it's having your cake and eating it too. And you can't. You just, to me, you can't.
It breaks the flow of the game, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But then the action starts back up again with the 3 seconds still on the clock.
Oh, no time passed. That's even better.
Midorima goes to shoot, and Kagami manages one more jump. And Midorima reveals, I knew you would jump. I believe that you had one more in you, and so I was pump faking. And he pulls it back down, and he goes to go back up. And Kuroko goes, I also knew he was going to jump, and I also knew you were going to pump fake, so I came in and I stole the ball from you. And he whacks it away, and they manage to win the game. And then the anime ends setting up the next Generation of Miracles guy, whose name is Aomine, who is the blue hair guy. And it doesn't really matter what happens at the end, because that's all they're doing is setting up anime we're not going to watch.
We're not going to watch. I'm not going to watch.
I
actually liked that. I liked the way they concluded that, even though, like, with the exception of the monologue, that was crap. But the way they handled the I knew that you knew that I knew that this, that was actually okay. I was all right with that. And I was also wondering, like, are they going to have him miss and not make the buzzer? Like, the buzzer will go as the basketball is just getting to the hoop. He'll still make the shot, but the buzzer goes off a split second before. That would be kind of cheesy. I didn't want to see any of those. But what they did, I was actually satisfied with that conclusion to the game.
Okay. Any other thoughts on the end of this game?
That's definitely possible to know that I know that you're going to do this, but the other guy also knows that. You can anticipate all that if you're a good player like that. This is also a sidebar to that. Why was their coach like uninterested the whole game? I missed that part. He's just sitting over there. Like what was that about?
sometimes he was even calling things out, like, "Oh, I saw that. I'm not going to tell anybody, but I saw that."
I didn't really understand that.
Maybe he was overestimating them, and he was like, but we can't lose because these guys suck.
Yeah, my team has a miracle on it.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, that is one thing that's really built up, is that Siren is considered like, you shouldn't even be here. Why did you even show up by all these other teams? And like Jeremy just said, I have a Generation of Miracle on my team, so I ought to win until. Because even the Saiho, the defense team that's watching this game, is like, yeah, we couldn't have beat these guys. We couldn't have countered the Generation of Miracles. Okay. Then it's time to go to our final reviews, where we give a score on a 1 to 5 scale of Bakas. Jason, why don't you start us off?
It wasn't 100% bad. I did have a bias against it, so I'm going to give it a 2. It's definitely not something that I would recommend or try watching more of. Really forgettable characters, and I think after reviews, do we have time to talk about how we would want to fix it, or?
You can throw it in here real quick. I am trying to wrap us up here pretty soon.
Okay. So there's 2 points I just wanted to hit. One, the first practice game against Kais, they should have lost that game. That would have put some more emphasis on the team getting better. Also, I think there need to be higher stakes. So Food Wars did it well. If you didn't cook well, you were out of the school forever. There was no coming back to that school. That was not life or death, but that were high enough stakes to where I actually cared if they cooked well. It was just a normal basketball season, so I wasn't invested. Okay. I think that could have really made a difference as far as like that. But so yeah, 2 for me.
All right. Jeremy, how about you?
I also, this is not in my wheelhouse. Sports anime just aren't my wheelhouse. But more than just that, I couldn't really find a connection with any of the characters. Not a single one of them. Jason mentioned Food Wars. I was thinking the same thing. Food Wars got my attention. I cared about the characters. I was entertained by their behavior and their interactions as well. Their stories that developed between the characters actually mattered. I didn't see that here. I didn't see enough development of these characters for me to even care beyond what's at stake. Just, are they interesting characters that I want to know more about and hang out with? No, I'm not interested. They're very boring. So it really comes across strongly to me as a thinly veiled fighting shonen that just kind of has this veneer of basketball on it. So I got to give it a 2 as well.
Okay.
It's not like one level. It's not like, what's that one that
Kids
you made us? Yeah, that one you made us watch. It's not that.
I'll remember that one till day.
Yeah, but it's a 2.
So you say it was a memorable anime. Mark, what's your review?
I kind of share what Jeremy was just saying, and I think I had told you that before too. Like, this anime doesn't have a lot to do with basketball, I don't think. I mean, there's some basketball in there, but there's more talking, and there's 3 seconds left, and you freeze the clock so you can talk for 5 minutes, and then also there's basketball too sometimes. So and it's not very good basketball. So and maybe anime and sports just aren't a good mix, or I don't know, but I'm not gonna watch this. I don't know what. So I'll give it a 2 as well, and that's about all I know.
So I was between a 2 and a 3. I mean, we argued a lot over chat messages over the past 2 weeks as we watched this, but not. In the end, we actually agree on a lot of the same stuff when it came to our reviews. I agree 100% with the characters were not enough. Because in Food Wars, stuff built in between the characters that had this connective tissue that you got to enjoy. That's not here. I do think they could fix that. I don't think it would be a hard swerve to make this a better anime. And since we're only through halfway of season 1 of 4, maybe it does get better. It's something I could see putting on and lounging on the couch and half paying attention to, and just to see some of the basketball's powers. And I do think a competitive sport anime could be done. Food Wars is a competitive cooking thing. If that can work, why not tennis? I guess Prince of Tennis is supposed to be good.
Oh God, I was going to suggest tennis. I didn't think it was real.
I think that those sports would be easier if they're individual sports where there's not 10 guys on the court at once. I don't think you could do a American football game.
There is an American football anime.
Yeah, that would be too hard. There's going to be too many guys that don't matter.
And honestly, the sports animes are big and popular in Japan as far as what I understand. They have almost every sport. Because I remember the reason I found out about the American football one is I asked on Twitter, and someone like in an hour was like, here it is. It's got 123 episodes. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. This is the first one for our podcast that I think it's like the second sport anime I've ever seen. I'd like to see a really good sport anime, so I would appreciate suggestions from the audience if they have them. But I'm going to give this a low 3 because I would put it on again. Because like I said, I watched some of the future episodes, and I could see it just leaving it on and not caring.
That's a low 3. Is like you have it playing in the background when you're not paying attention.
Yes.
Okay.
Or high 2. I mean,
okay.
But I'm giving it a low 3 just to be different from everyone.
All right.
Okay, so we need to announce our next anime. Jason picked it finally.
This has been a long time coming.
At the start of this show.
Yep.
We are watching the Ancient Magus Bride. Magus Bride?
Yeah,
Magus. No, I think it's Magus. Yeah.
Oh God, this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
This is about a young woman who sells herself into slavery to a magician. He's like a spirit or something. He's got like a skull head.
Yeah, he's a Magus, Troy.
Oh, he's a Magus.
It's in the title.
But he's something else. Okay, it doesn't matter.
He's some kind of demonic goat.
We are starting for just the first 12 episodes, and then we'll do the second half probably after that. So just episodes 1 through 12 to start with. I'm really surprised.
Is ensue.
I'm really surprised you picked
Jinx. Well, I mean, this has come up like several times.
Yeah,
we've always shot it down.
Yeah, I watched the first episode and I was like, wow, this will never fly. But we're going to watch it. So that is what's next. And if you want to comment on sports anime, please comment on sports anime. You can reach us on Twitter at Baka Podcast. You can reach us on our email, the Anime Baka Club at gmail.com, or leave a comment, YouTube, iTunes, wherever you found this. It'll get back to us. And a big shout out to Mark for coming on. You did great. Thank you so much for, we got so much more info about basketball that we would have been lost on.
Thanks for having me. This is a blast, so I really appreciate it, and always enjoy the show. Boxing. I think the boxing would be a good one that they could do.
There's a new boxing anime where he has robot arms attached to his boxing gloves,
like Jax from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
And that's the sport. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
See ya.
Sayonara.